Welcome to Reality Check for this Tuesday, August the 8th, 2017. I'm your host, Vincent Thompson, filling in for Charles Ellison. And if you are listening to us on the radio, which you are, and if you are watching us on our YouTube program, momentarily you're going to see, to my left, the new Philadelphia District Attorney, Kelley Hodge. She is joining us for as long as she can stay in the studio to discuss issues impacting her office. She replaced Seth Williams as DA of the city of Philadelphia. As you know, Seth Williams is no longer the district attorney because he pleaded guilty to corruption charges. He is now in a federal jail in Philadelphia, awaiting sentencing in October. So we are happy to have the new district attorney here. Let's tell you the rest of the lineup for today because we want to give the DA as much time as possible. Coming in at the bottom of the hour, Kara Bradford Gray. She's the chief defender of the Defenders Association of Philadelphia. That's the Public Defender's Office. We're going to give you a little time during the 5 o'clock hour for open forum. At about 5:20, we're going to have Pennsylvania State Treasurer Joe Torsella joining us. At 6 o'clock, we're going to have our Philadelphia Citizen segment with writer Quinn O'Canlan. Larry Platt is out of town, so we will have Quinn filling in for him. And then at 6:20, we're going to have a couple of community folks coming in. Pete Wilson, ward leader in the 6th Ward, and a leader from the Philadelphia Community Outreach Committee to talk about the issue of violence in our city, what's happening on the streets, and what can be done to solve everything. So we have a busy show today. We also want to invite your calls at 215-634-8065 or 1-866-361-0900. Again, you are listening and watching Reality Check here on 900 AM and 96.1 FM, WURD Radio. I'm Vincent Thompson, filling in for Charles Ellison. And Philadelphia lawyer Kelley Hodge is the first African-American woman to be the district attorney of Philadelphia and only the 25th DA in city history. She was elected by the Board of Judges of the Philadelphia Common Pleas Court to replace former DA Seth Williams, who resigned after pleading guilty to federal corruption. That happened in June. She took over the DA's office just a few days later after being elected by the Board of Judges. She will hold the job for the next 5.5 months until the next DA is sworn in this January. The next elected DA will either be Democrat Larry Krasner or Republican Beth Grossman. The election will happen on November 7th, and Ms. Hodge is a local person. She is a native of Montgomery County. I want to welcome the new district attorney of the city of Philadelphia. I'm not putting interim, because you are the DA, Kelley Hodge. This is her first extensive radio interview since becoming DA. So, Madam DA, thank you very much for being with us here on WURD.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm pleased to be here and looking forward to the conversation and hearing from your listeners.
Okay, let's get to the hard questions right now.
Okay.
It is Reality Check. Question I know a lot of people are going to ask is this: why did you decide to apply for this job? I mean, you were of counsel at a local law firm. I'm assuming you were making great money. Why take on the stress and apply to be the DA?
I really have always had an affinity for the office. I think once you have been a part of the office and have been part of the fabric of the criminal justice system in Philadelphia, it just is something that stays with you. So over the years since I left, I still always remained involved in criminal justice in some way. And when I saw the position become posted as being available and that they were seeking somebody, I kind of looked at myself and said, why not me? I thought that I had the familiarity and the knowledge of the office and having been in the space and knowing kind of the criminal justice partners, not only in Philadelphia, but in the state. And I said, I think that I have enough gravitas and engagement with law enforcement, judicial system, various community organizations that are constantly working to help, youth and underserved populations and everyone trying to address crime in the city. And I said, let me go ahead and give it a shot.
Did somebody ask you to apply, or did you decide? Because obviously the position was posted in legal journals, and there were 14 other people that applied. Did you make that decision to do it after consulting with family, or did somebody say, Kelley, come on, you should apply? And was that the impetus for doing it?
It was a consultation with my family, my husband and my job, and my firm, and that was it. So there were two Johns in my life that I needed to speak with. John, my husband, and John, my managing partner in my firm. And after speaking with them, knowing that I had the support of my firm to return back to the firm if in fact I was actually given the position. That enabled me to kind of submit my application, walk into this opportunity, and take it with, you know, a lot of full commitment in terms of trying and applying and presenting myself to the Board of Judges, knowing that I had a place that I could return to upon conclusion.
Now, I read that you thought your chances of getting selected by the Board of Judges was remote. Why do you think you were selected?
You know, 88 people or 88 judges could have 88 different reasonings as to why or what they were looking for in a candidate. And I appreciate the fact that the majority of judges decided that I presented to them as the best option. I can't really get into their minds and kind of, you know, kind of say what they were thinking. I do believe that my familiarity with the office was of a help, that they knew or could appreciate for the ones that believed I was the best candidate, that I had an appreciation for what the office dynamic was like, what the culture was like, and I could integrate back into the office relatively easily. A lot of the people that I used to work with before are still there. And I also believe that I had enough distance from the office, meaning I left in 2011, and enough external experiences that also helped supported me coming back in. You know, I was practicing law before I came to Philadelphia. I was working as a public defender in Richmond, Virginia. I think that was an asset of having that balanced perspective in terms of criminal justice. And I think that kind of everything, I presume the full package of what I presented on my resume was hopefully what they looked at and said, you know, we think that she is the best candidate for the job.
We're speaking to Philadelphia District Attorney Kelley Hodge, the first African-American female to ever hold this position. This is a WURD radio exclusive broadcast with the District Attorney. DA, there are 88 common pleas court judges, as
Correct.
you said. I did a little research. 47 of them are women, 41 of them are men. Minorities make up about 44% of the judges, with 32 African-Americans, 5 Hispanics, and 2 Asians. Now, I have heard that African-American women on the court and African-Americans in general got together and decided they wanted to support you. Did you lobby any of the judges? Because some people did lobby judges for votes. Did you lobby of them? And are you sitting here as district attorney because African-American judges decided to support you?
I'm sitting here as district attorney because 43 individuals in that room felt that I was the best candidate for the position.
Right, but
the makeup of who put those votes in the top hat and said, this is who we want, I don't know who makes up that dynamic in terms of demographic, male, female, racial background. I can't speak to that. What I will say is that what I did was I took seriously and do take seriously this position. And with that being said, I knew that what I should do, professionally speaking, is extend myself to all judges that make up the Council of Judges, or the Board of Judges, rather, to see if there was anything that they wanted to know of me, question of me. So I availed myself to every judge. I reached out to every judge who is a member of the Council of the Board, or rather a member of the Board of Judges, and said, I am a candidate. I basically said, if you would like to have any conversation with me, I welcome it. And if they chose to, they did. And if they didn't want to, that was absolutely fine. But I made myself available to everyone.
Now, I was at the vote for you. And when a lot of the judges were coming out, especially African-American female judges, there was a lot of high fives. There were a lot of smiles. Do you believe, or have you been told since, that African-American female judges helped you get this position?
I definitely, what I know and what I feel is that I had, obviously, from those who walked out and displayed, their pleasure at the outcome of the vote. And since you specifically asked regarding African-American female judges coming out, that for those judges that did vote for me, and the support I have from them, that I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate the confidence that they placed in me to do this job. For all of the judges, but I know in particular for the African-American judges, if that's how they individually decided to vote, I appreciate the confidence that they placed in me, and I know for all of the judges that placed a vote for me, and thereby doing so said, this is what we think is best for the city of Philadelphia, that I have an obligation to all the citizens in the city of Philadelphia to do a good job.
Madam DA, you are the first black woman to ever hold this position. You're the second woman to hold it. The first one was Lynn Abraham, who you worked under.
Correct.
For a portion. You are replacing an African-American man in Seth Williams, who you also worked under as well. How does it feel to be the first black female DA? Have you had a chance to soak that in? Do you feel a lot of pressure to have to do well? Because there was a lot of pressure there was a lot of expectations of Seth Williams, and a lot of people in the black community and across the city are disappointed because we elected him to be DA, and now he's sitting in a federal jail cell. So how do you feel about taking on this role, and do you get a sense that there's a lot of pressure on you to do well, to shine above everything else, not just because you're a black woman, but because you're a woman and you want to make it easier for other women to possibly have this job? How much pressure do you feel 2 weeks in?
I think the job inherently, by the nature of the job, has its own inherent pressures. There's a lot of very important decisions and individuals that you must interact and interface with on a daily basis in order to do the job well, and you have to be able to be regimented and thoughtful in everything that you do. And so with that, I feel that pressure of the job just based on the nature of the job itself. Your question was more specific, however. And I will say that I know that being the first African-American female district attorney for Philadelphia, I'm still kind of, as you would say, have I accepted it? I'm soaking it in. I think that, it does come with kind of an asterisk to the title of district attorney. That is not lost on me. I spoke of it in my remarks when I was sworn in. I believe that throughout my life and my career that I've worked in a way that is honorable, that is honest, that is candid, that is direct. And that is the same type of mindset that I bring into this role. That is what I would like to say is who I am, and that's what I'm going to carry with me. The pressure comes with the position. I'm going to work within it, but I'm also recognizing that for those people within the city of Philadelphia, maybe beyond, especially, other African-American women or young African-American girls or boys or anyone who may look and say, can I do? You absolutely can do. Whatever it is that you set your mind to. I give a lot of credit in my life to my parents, my husband, and my schooling and where I went to school. And I went to an all-girls high school, and I give a lot of credit to that setting. I'll give a shout out to Mount St. Joseph Academy. I give a lot of credit to that setting, but whether it was Mount St. Joseph or Girls High or any setting similar to that, Spelman College or any place that I felt limitless. I felt like there was no, restriction on what I could do in my life. So I think that mindset has carried me through. So yes, I feel pressure, but I hope to make the city proud. And for those people that are looking at me in a pioneering position, I'm looking to definitely uphold that for the time that I'm in the office.
We're speaking to Philadelphia District Attorney Kelley Hodge. If you'd like to join us, you can give us a call at 215-634-8065 or 1-866-361-0900. We're probably going to be going to a commercial break soon, but I definitely want to ask you this one. You're in office because 7-year District Attorney Seth Williams was forced to resign in June after pleading guilty to federal corruption charges. You worked under Seth Williams when he was a DA because you were an assistant DA. What do you think went wrong with Seth? What happened? And are you angry, disappointed in him? What are people in the office feeling? There was so much promise with Mr. Williams, and now you're having to come into an office and, frankly, clean up the mess that was done by him. So what do you think went wrong? And, are you mad? Are you angry?
I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I don't think I have the right to be mad or angry. I know, former District Attorney Williams Seth from working for him. I first encountered him by working for him. I continued a professional relationship with him when I was Safe Schools Advocate, and partnering with him with schools around the city to go ahead and address bullying and hazing, and we did that partnership together. And I think that, he had some really great ideas on how to go and address like root causes of crime and violence and behavior in the city that definitely have taken root in the office. As far as the individual DAs in the office, the DAs do the work day in and day out. I can't, nor would I ever speak for them as a collective in terms of their personal feelings regarding things. Since I've walked into the office, I have had an overwhelming feeling of support. We're ready to do the job that we were tasked to do, that we were sworn to do, and they are not looking back in any way, shape, form, or fashion. They're looking forward and will continue to look forward.
But
so
there has
I don't
to be
have,
some anger, ma'am, among the 600 plus
You'd
DAs.
have to ask the 300 DAs and the 300 support staff. I can say for me, it is not an anger. This, whatever has transpired or what did transpire with former DA Williams, was of his own decision making, and he's accountable to himself. And it's the same question or argument that is made when we are in court, meaning district attorneys or prosecutors across this country are in court, and we are trying to determine for a defendant that's in the room how we go ahead and present an argument to the court. And you have to rest with the decisions that you make as an individual. I think that he will be addressing that in October at his sentencing, but I don't have any comment beyond that, and I cannot speak for the DAs in the office to say what their personal feelings are. Again, I think that, in my opinion, since stepping in 2 weeks ago, they have been and continue to be forward-thinking, and if they have a personal feeling, I don't feel it's my position to speak on it, and I really can't because I haven't asked 300 DAs and 300 support staff, how do you personally feel about this? That would be looking back. And we're looking forward.
What do you think his legacy will be as DA? You talked that he's done some good stuff, but will his legacy's got to be balanced now between, hey, he was DA, he was the first African American, he did some good stuff, but then he's going to be known as soon a federal prison number somewhere in the country because he did corruption. What do you think his legacy will be?
I would like to think, and I hope that in terms of the programs and things that have been set up in the office that have been designed and put into place in order to go ahead and try to stem violence in the city, that those things will outshine the negative. But, it's for the public to make the determination as to what they see is the overarching legacy of Seth Williams. And, he himself will have the opportunity to go ahead and write his narrative in the future. And that is completely up to him as an individual.
We're going to take a break right now. We're going to keep the district attorney on for a little while. I promise all the callers on the line, I will get to you. I just want to clear out the laundry list of questions I have so that when we get to you, we can continue to have you on. You are listening to Reality Check with Philadelphia District Attorney Kelley Hodge here on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM. Welcome back to 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD Radio. I'm Vincent Thompson. You're listening to Reality Check, and we are being joined today for the first radio interview by the new District Attorney Kelley Hodge. Ms. Hodge, let's talk about the David Jones shooting. Just yesterday, City Council President Darrell Clark let slip out of his mouth that the case has been moved from the Philadelphia DA's office to the office of the Attorney General, Josh Shapiro. The decision was made by you to move it up to the Attorney General's office. Why did you make that decision?
Once I arrived in the office on the 24th, that week, I had the opportunity to become aware, look at, and review information regarding the case, what was available at that time. And based upon information that was available to me, I thought it was most appropriate that there was a potential actual or apparent conflict of interest. So I needed to go ahead and move swiftly to have it sent to the Attorney General's office so that they could, at that point, take my referral, review it, and then make their decision as to whether or not they would accept it, which they did.
So in that situation, when you got in, did you ask to see the file? Did a member of staff say, this is a hot case, David Jones, we think you should see the file? How did that work?
No, it wasn't it was something that once I arrived was something that I wanted to make sure that I would see as quickly as possible, along with anything else that obviously would be, let's say, a pressing matter. And that was something that I wanted to be aware of as soon as possible. And so reviewed it, and made the decision.
Now, you said that there was a potential conflict of interest. I know you might not tell us what that conflict of interest, but I would be wrong if I did not ask it. What was the possible conflict of interest? Was it the fact that you work with the police department and Mr. Jones was shot by a police officer? Was there someone inside the DA's office? What is that conflict of interest that made you say we should kick it up to the Attorney General?
I appreciate you asking the question. You are absolutely right that I can't divulge the details of the conflict. It wouldn't be prudent to do so. However, suffice it to say, the nature of the conflict was something that I shared with the Attorney General's office so that they would have that knowledge in order to make their determination if it was something that they should accept, which they did.
Did your office notify the Jones family that it was being moved to the Attorney General's office? Because the first time a lot of the Jones family heard about it was yesterday when it happened. Did anybody in your office call them to give them a heads up? And if that didn't happen, why did it?
My understanding was that from my office that they would have contact with a point person for the family, I believe legal counsel, and that legal counsel was either contacted or attempted to be contacted. I believe contact was made, and therefore that person would therefore notify the family. It's just something that, to respect the family in the way that they would like to receive information, I believe that they wanted to receive it through counsel. So that's my understanding.
So the counsel got it, and it was up to their legal counsel to tell it to the family.
My understanding is that counsel got it, or counsel was contacted or attempted to be contacted to receive it. Beyond that, I didn't personally have the conversation, but that was the course of action that was being taken.
Thinking back, now that you've referred it to the Attorney General's office, do you feel that this case will now have the best chance of having everything looked at it? Because you were concerned about the conflict of interest, you have to use that moral compass, I guess, in your gut. Do you feel that the right thing was done? Let me kick it to the Attorney General, and they can have a better chance of looking through everything to make a determination. And how will you assist them? Will they now take over the case? Will they have your investigators helping them? How does that work?
To your first question, I would not have referred the case if I did not think it was in the best interest of the case itself and the ongoing investigation to go ahead and refer it to the Attorney General's office. So it was legally and ethically appropriate for that step to happen, which it has happened. Insofar as the investigation is concerned, all investigation and all materials that are being or have been gathered by the Philadelphia Police Department are now availed and given to the Attorney General's office, and they will proceed with the investigation, with the same thoroughness, thoughtfulness, the analysis of the facts and the law, just as if it stayed with the District Attorney's office that we would have in order to make a determination as to what the next step is going to be in the case.
Has Mr. Shapiro or anyone from the Attorney General's office indicated to you that they would like to complete this investigation and announce some kind of decision before you leave office in January? Because the family is urging a quick, steady resolve of this. They want to see the officer fired. They want to see the officer brought up on charges. Obviously, that determination will be up to the Attorney General's office. But have you gotten any word that there will be some resolution to this before you leave in January?
I can't speak for the Attorney General's office with the exception of, obviously, my communication with them in order to go ahead and make the referral. I think that's probably a question best situated for the Attorney General's office and their spokesperson.
Would you like to see it done by January?
I would like to see it done correctly. So whatever time frame dictates thoroughness, completeness, that's in fairness to everyone involved. There is a balance that we strike in the law and in doing cases and analyzing cases, and you want to be thorough. And I know oftentimes people want to be expedient, and sometimes those two things don't necessarily pair up well for a person such as the family members of the Jones family who are looking for something. They probably would like to have something yesterday in terms of an outcome or a decision. And unfortunately, it takes time because you want it done well. At least I want it done well as a law enforcement officer. I'm certain that the Attorney General's office wants to do their investigation well in order to make sure that whatever decision they make is the absolute right decision for the Jones family as well as for everybody else who's involved.
Now, David Jones, for people who are listening, he was shot June 8th. He was shot in the back after being stopped by an officer for allegedly driving a dirt bike recklessly on the street. That officer's name is Ryan Pownall. And, Madam DA, does the facts surrounding this case and past shootings of civilians by Officer Pownall give you concern? This officer has shot at least 2 black men in his career, both of them in the back. One of them, Carnell Williams Carney, he shot in 2010. He's paralyzed from the waist down, and David Jones is dead. Does this concern you? And as the DA, do you believe that this officer should be off the force? We know he's on administrative duty, but is this the kind of officer that should be fired by the police department?
I will say this. I believe in staying in my lane. My lane at this point, because of the referral I've made to the AG's office, makes it so that that's a question I can't answer, because it would invoke me speaking as district attorney, but maybe eliciting comments that I should not be making because I am district attorney, and I've already acknowledged the conflict. So unfortunately, for you, the question, I understand it. I can't give you a response to that because I think that it's something that's left up to Richard Ross makes the decision, the commissioner, regarding whether or not Officer Panel does or does not remain with the force, and I'm sure that he will be as thorough and as comprehensive in analyzing that decision that he will make at the appropriate time, just as the AG's office is doing what they're doing on their end for the investigation.
Now, the police department did fire an officer recently, James Yeager. He was fired this week. He was an officer who was video recorded in July picking up a man in Kensington and slamming him headfirst into the side of an above-ground swimming pool. The police commissioner, that gentleman has been on the force for 4 years. He got fired. He's on suspension with the intent to dismiss in 30 days. Is the DA's office doing an investigation on Mr. Yeager to see if there's criminal charges as a result of what he's done?
That matter is being investigated by our office, and it's an ongoing investigation at this point, yes.
You're investigating it. Can you give us any more details about it? And let me ask, would you like to have the Yeager investigation done within the 5 months that you still have left?
Same answer I gave to you before. I would like to have the Officer Yeager investigation or any investigation that's being done by my office done in a manner that is thorough, comprehensive, and make sure that whatever the outcome is the outcome that is best served for all the parties involved. So whether it's 5 weeks or within 5 months, I want it to be done correctly and well. I can't give you any details because it is a pressing or an ongoing investigation, so I can't provide you anything more than that, but just to let you know that there is an investigation into it.
And this will not be kicked up to the Attorney General's office?
I have no information at this point that indicates to me that it needs to be referred out unless something arises during the course of investigation that creates an issue where I'm notified that this is a potential conflict, but I have no indication of that at this point. So no, this is resting with the district attorney's office.
Do you believe that the police commissioner was right to fire this officer, Officer Yeager?
I trust and respect the decision of Richard Ross, and I respect the decision that he announced regarding the officer. And beyond that, again, there's no need for me to comment beyond what he, in his capacity, felt was appropriate. So I respect what Richard Ross has decided regarding Officer Yeager.
I am done with all of my questions, so the folks that have been holding on the line, I do appreciate the time. We are speaking to Philadelphia District Attorney Kelley Hodge. I wanted to get some things on the record for the new district attorney. We're going to go right to the callers. So if you're looking on the video that we have, you're going to see our headsets on so that we can hear the callers. Our first caller is going to be Harold from North Philadelphia. Harold, you're on with the new district attorney, Kelley Hodge.
Good afternoon. How are you both?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. This is such a pleasure, but you really answered my questions. I was calling about the basketball player, Yeager, the slam dunker, but you answered the question with him. But I will say this. I was happy to see you elected. Don't let me be happy to see you go. Thanks for taking the call, my dear.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your calling in and also the comments that you've shared. Take care.
Let's go to Joe in North Philadelphia. Joe, you are on with Philadelphia District Attorney Kelley Hodge.
Yeah, right. I got 2 questions. Thanks for taking my call. One is, as a regular citizen, a black man, and as a father of males, I'm concerned about, number one, when you sentence all these children to jail, when are you going to start protecting them so that they don't come out, sodomized, brutalized? And the other question is, all this familiarity, you said yourself, you just want to stay in your lane. But all this familiarity with the judges and with the other DAs, and that begs the question of where's the fairness? I mean, if you all going to parties together and whatever, and you have this familiarity, when I come in front of the judge or you, how am I sure? What's the guarantee, or what's even the hope that I'm going to get a fair shake, which hasn't happened to me.
Hey, Joe, let me ask before the district attorney answers. You had said your first question about sending children to jail. Can you be a little bit more specific? I want to make sure that we understand what you mean by that.
I mean, like if you're going to prosecute and also defend the public, where's the voice at for the public? I mean, okay, so you want to go there, you want to do this, you want to do that. But how about where is the voice at for the people? I mean, you send children to young teenagers, old teenagers, to jails, young men in their 20s, and a lot of times they get attacked, they get brutalized. I'm sure if you have a son, you wouldn't want that for your son. So I'm saying, what is going to be done about that? I mean, these rapes and these brutalizations and 10 people jumping one person and all this. When is somebody going to do something about that?
Okay, I'm going to let the district attorney answer that. There were two questions, Madam District Attorney, about the familiarity of the law enforcement system. How can people get a fair shot? And then the issue about children, whichever one you'd like to address first.
I'll address the one regarding children first and the second question second. And Joe, thanks for calling in. I understand what you're saying. And look, for anybody who's brutalized, be it on the street, be it in a detention center, be it in a youth facility, in a jail, that should not happen. That is something that, when brought to the attention of people who are running a facility or brought to the attention of anybody in a capacity that is there to protect and serve, they should take action on, and obviously making the police or my office or whomever aware of it, then we could take the steps to curb that. No one should feel like they are in a space where they're preyed upon, regardless of their age, but especially for children. And, yes, I have a young son, and I want my son to be able to play and do things in the city just like every child should, and feel like he can do so, or any child can do so, knowing that they will be okay. Insofar as your second question is concerned, I think that, when you're talking about the familiarity with the court system that I mentioned earlier in my response, I stated that to just highlight the fact that my return to the office as district attorney, my past involvement and connection to the office and working in the office I guess about 6 years ago is when I left the office in 2011, that is an asset in terms of me getting up to speed quickly and making sure that I'm able to go ahead and look at things on how to improve the criminal justice system overall. This system, in terms of addressing crime in the city of Philadelphia, is complex. It's multi-layered. It requires a lot of communication with a lot of different people. The Defenders Association, the police department, the court system, health and human services agencies, community agencies, and I can go on. And because of that, it takes a familiarity with all of these different systems to try to go ahead and make sure that we're providing an outcome that will have people on a better path in life, that they won't recidivize. I was just at SCI Chester today.
That's the Chester State Prison.
Correct. I was invited out there by the prison to go ahead and see the inmates perform a play about reentry and reducing recidivism, and it was called The Day of Responsibility. And I, had lunch and watched the play, and I appreciated what the men there are trying to do in order to help one another and better themselves before they re-enter back into society. That is important because if, in fact, people are able to re-enter into society better than when they entered into the criminal justice system or entered into a prison or a youth detention facility, then they have a better chance of having a full and productive life, which means that they are able to be contributing members to society, which I think everybody has the potential to be.
Madam DA, what's the biggest issues impacting our city when it comes to violence? I can go out to neighborhoods right now, and people are afraid to come out their homes. We've had a couple hundred people shot, killed. The numbers are going up. We as the city of Philadelphia average around 250 to 300 murders every year. Let's talk about a couple of thousand shootings every year. If you're an African-American person, or a Latino person in this city, what are the biggest issues dealing with crime and violence? What keeps you up at night? What are things that we just haven't been able to get? We spend millions of dollars on crime reduction, and crime don't seem to be going down.
I think that we have a lot, we meaning the collective community, have a lot of responsibility towards helping and teaching young children, young people, options and possibility. I mentioned earlier about how I felt limitless in my upbringing, that I was in a school environment and my parents, and I wasn't taught that there were limits to the potential that I had. And I think that we need to elevate the expectation for success for kids. I think that's a huge help. I think that gun violence, drugs, access to drugs, those things are definitely scourges and really, just barriers to the potential to succeed for our community. I think that obviously jobs and access to jobs, being able to be that productive member of society. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, I don't want to be productive today. I think people wake up with the best of intentions and find it difficult. And I think we have to try to go ahead and remove the barriers to being successful and to being self-supporting and to being able to support their families and do the things in life that have them feel what I felt, which is I don't have limits to being successful. At least that's my mindset.
But what do you do to crack down on gun violence? I mean, people are still going to get shot. As a district attorney, people expect you to be tough on crime. How do you limit that over the next 5 months? Are we going to start seeing a tougher stand on guns in your administration? Are we going to see more people arrested? What's going to happen as far as guns for people who are living in North Philly, West Philly, Point Breeze, who are victims every day?
Myself, the mayor's office, the police department, and every other entity, council members who are committed to trying to combat the access to guns, gun violence, fatal, non-fatal shootings. We are, over the next 5 months and beyond, going to continue an active conversation on how we can creatively and effectively address the issue. For those people who commit offenses regarding with firearms, hurting other individuals, there's accountability. There will be accountability from this office. The law will be enforced by this office, by me and by the district attorneys who work in the office. And those are things that are one aspect of the overall continuum of things that need to be done to address gun violence. The reactive end is dealing with the consequence, but the preventive end is trying to go ahead and limit the access. How can we go ahead and reduce people's temptation or need to go ahead and commit these offenses of hurting other people with weapons? Why a child can find a weapon in a grassy area in a certain part of the city where...
Or they can buy one.
Correct.
Right.
That's what we need to look at and figure out and try to address.
So what are you going to do in the next 5 months to deal with that? You have the power now. What are you going to do?
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, and I've already begun the conversation with the executive administration of the mayor's office, sitting down this week with Gunstat, sitting down with Richard Ross, having those conversations to figure out what specifically can we do now, because my time frame is limited, and I know it's not going to be solved with me. It didn't start with me. It's not going to end with me. It's going to be ongoing. But I'm going to work to see what I can do to go ahead and make a concerted effort to somehow try to stem or reduce gun violence in the city. But I need partners. I can't do it alone.
So could we see a new initiative within the next 30 to 60 days to deal with that issue?
I think that I won't lock into the 30 to 60 days. You could see a new initiative whenever something is comprehensively designed and thought through that's going to be effective. The reason I hesitate to put a time frame on anything is that when you do that, you sometimes could limit yourself to doing something successfully and well. And I'm about doing something that is sustainable, successful, and well executed.
We're going to take a commercial break right now. I promise you, Greg and Abdul-Jabbar, you've been holding on. The district attorney has been very gracious with her time. She's given us a little bit more time. So we're going to take your calls. 215-634-8065. We'll be back with the new District Attorney, Kelley Hodge, in just a moment. Welcome back to Reality Check here on WURD Radio 96.1 FM and 900 AM. Let's go right to the phone line so that you can speak to Philadelphia DA Kelley Hodge. Greg from East Falls, I know you've been holding. I appreciate the time. You're on Reality Check.
Yes, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I didn't hear whether you asked the questions that you asked for us to submit through Facebook, but I'll ask them anyway. I have two quick questions and a comment on the conflict issue.
Okay.
The first one is, what do you believe that you can do policy-wise that will be effective past your 5-month tenure? And two, with all due respect to your qualifications, and obviously you have them, and Madam DA, I'm not questioning your qualifications, but what I see with regard to the historical references that people make, I have a problem personally accepting that, or I think it's demeaning. It is historical, but it's 5 months, and I can't help to believe that it was in somewhat orchestrated as a karma thing for Ned Abraham. But what is your perception of that? Because I really wish you would have more time. You know, as the first female African American DA, do you plan to run again? And the third part is, I have been a part of the David Jones investigation, activism, you know, contrary to maybe some people may not want to identify that, but I have. But when it comes to the conflict, I know you can't talk specifically about the investigation, but in the past, when it comes to why those conflicts are, I've seen DAs and they at least spoke about on the surface what it may be. So I hope I didn't crowd you with you know, whatever, but all those three are important to me.
Okay, Greg, let's let the district attorney answer that. What can you do policy-wise, Madam DA, that will last past your 5 months?
I think what I'm looking to do while I'm in office is to identify those things that are of most immediate concern that I can address now. And there are, you know, things involving gun violence, which we mentioned, and the opioid epidemic, that may end up growing into policy considerations that will go beyond the 5 months. So, you know, certain things are obviously national concerns, are broad regional concerns within Philadelphia that I'm trying to address. Those two are kind of paramount at this point because of the number of people who are dying every day from drug overdoses and because of the nature of violence that is often associated with drugs in this city. And also, we just discussed about guns. So that's something that I would expect if there's policy considerations that can happen moving forward. Obviously, policy takes a longer time. There are things that involve the legislature and, you know, things involving Harrisburg. But those would be things that I would leave as a recommendation and pass on to the next district attorney.
Because the final decision, if anything that you implement, is up to that next DA.
Correct.
Come January, they could switch everything, right?
Correct. And I want things, as I said earlier, to be effective and sustainable and longstanding. I don't want to, you know, just put a Band-Aid where we actually need a full-scale surgical procedure in order to remedy a situation. And so that would be my response to that question. Do I plan to run? I have no plans at this time to run. Fortunately or unfortunately, and I appreciate your comment in saying I wish I could stay longer. Thank you for that. I knew stepping into this role that the role was for the time frame that was remaining in the current administration. I don't have any control over that, so I just expect and plan on doing the best job I can for the time frame that I'm here. And regarding the David Jones matter, as I stated earlier, to the question that was presented to me, it's just something past historical, what DAs have done in the past, I'm not them. And I definitely would not do anything to compromise any investigation. And therefore, the statement that I provided earlier is a statement that I'm staying consistent with, which is I presented it to the Attorney General's office with the information necessary for them to make a decision, and they did so, and they've accepted the referral and are doing the investigation.
So I just want to get for the record, you are, whoever becomes a DA will serve a 4-year term.
Correct.
Right? You are not looking to run 4 years from now, no matter Who is the DA?
I am not looking to run for district attorney at this point in time. And that's the best answer. Full stop right there.
Okay. Let's go to Jim in West Philadelphia with one of our final questions. And everyone else who is on the line, we're going to get the chance to get to you. The district attorney is going to give you an email address where you can send your questions, give comment. Also, we'll take the information down. I promise you that this isn't probably going to be the first time that the district attorney is going to be at WURD Radio. She is longer than I expected her to stay. We really expected her to go a half hour. She's staying an hour. So let's go to our final caller for this segment, Jim from West Philadelphia. Jim, if you could give us a question real quick, I appreciate it.
No problem. Well, one thing, in November you will have one vote because you can do a write-in.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm not too clear on. I know that the state attorney general declined to prosecute the political fiasco that just happened here, and now the city is not prosecuting. I mean, is there a lot of cases of cross prosecution like that? And could the attorney general actually prosecute the city's district attorney?
No, that was a federal case. It was the federal government that brought that case. So it was the federal government that prosecuted Seth Williams. So I know
that's what happened, but I'm just asking, can the attorney general?
Can the Pennsylvania Attorney General do that? Let me do this. That is something that we would have to ask the Pennsylvania Attorney General. We will try to get that Josh Shapiro on for another show. So I do, Jim, thank you very much for your time. Madam DA, while we quickly have you, what do you want your legacy to be in office? When all is said and done over these 5 months, if you had to write your legacy, what do you want it to be?
I stated it in my remarks when I was sworn in 2 weeks ago on the 24th of July. And I am hoping and intending for my legacy to be that I will depart the office in January having left it in a better place than when I entered it. That I will have made it a seamless and smooth transition for the next district attorney, and that I will have left whatever marks I've been able to make along the way in terms of decisions and policy and training and support and forging or reestablishing or enhancing relationships with criminal justice partners in the city, that I've taken all those steps and laid either a foundation or, kind of bolstered the existing relationship for the betterment of the citizens of Philadelphia. So I'm just hoping I walk out and have left the office in a position that they feel that they have been well served and better than the day I walked in.
Madam DA, good luck.
Thank you.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
You will need it.
Thank you.
We will be following you. We will also criticize you when necessary.
Absolutely,
we will also
I understand.
praise you when necessary.
Thank you very much.
Also, remember, our microphone is open, and especially for Philadelphia City Council Live, which I am the host of every Thursday from 10 to 1 when council's in session. If you would ever like to come on down to City Council. Free getting grilled for the budget. You can gladly come on. And again, Philadelphia District Attorney Kelley Hodge, thanks for being with us on reality.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We do appreciate it.